Welcome to RGBA, Colorful Tech News and Reviews. This is episode 69. My name is Alexandre Valliere-Lagacé, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tyler Minard. All right, so the iPhone X. Oh no, what did I say?
Already.
The iPhone 10. Yeah, already. The iPhone 10 is released. So we are now Saturday morning, so it was released yesterday. People started to get their shipment from UPS. Some other people were not so lucky, and their shipment was postponed to next Monday. A friend of mine is in that situation, so that sucks. There were no real pickup in stores here, but I think I saw something this morning that it's going to change. So anyways, people got their iPhone X, people started to use their iPhone, and I think overall the reception is pretty good.
Yeah, we had a couple of reviews that came out this week at the beginning of the week. I think we want to talk about how that's like different and how it was done this year compared to other years.
Yeah, usually Apple gives out review units for the major newspapers and publications and a few other sites/blogs like Daring Fireball and stuff like that. But this year, they kind of had a weird setup. They only had 3 journalists who had the iPhone for 1 week before the
embargo.
Yeah, before the embargo date, and then after that, many journalists got their review units at a different meeting place that Apple set up to explain the device and go over the tentpole features and everything. And the embargo date was the very next day. So, for example, Jason Snell, who was traveling for personal reason, just got back in town, and instead of going to his house, he went the opposite way to an Apple set-up venue for meeting with journalists to get his iPhone unit, and then he only had like 18 hours to post his review. So, of course, these are not like full-fledged, detailed review after 1 week of use, blah, blah, blah. It's basically just first impressions. And that's how the other journalists who also got their units that same day did. For example, The Verge, they did a very first video. It started like with Nilay Patel coming out of the building with his iPhone in hand, going in a car, being filmed in the car, trying to set it up, not having any SIM tool with him. I don't know why he did not use the one that came in the box, but anyways.
They don't come in the box in the US.
Seriously?
Yep.
Oh, I never knew that. Wow. Okay, that sucks. Why?
I don't know.
Okay. So anyways, it was basically just a video feature of the features of the new iPhone, and nothing much we learned from there except apart from a nice videography from the Verge team. And then, like a few days later, they reintroduced a new video with the same article and expanded the article with much more content. So what they also did this year, instead of, like I said, sending to a bunch of journalists, they invited they invited independent YouTubers. So instead of doing a push with the usual suspects, they basically said, let's do a first shot with a bunch of kids from YouTube and see how this goes. And it was a very different reaction because these guys are not used to be invited to those events, and they were primed. They were super ecstatic about that, and they went to a little place where they had large tables, and they were able to film themselves there, and then they would go back to their house with a new iPhone 10 for review. So yeah, basically that's different. I think for all tech nerds like us, it's not what we are used to. And I think we all prefer the old ways of having in-depth review with a bunch of smart observations by people we know and trust. So we were constantly looking for reviews like this week, trying to find like, where's the reviews? And okay, this guy got it. Did he post a review? Oh no, it's only the first impressions. Like, it was kind of a weird week for us. For the rest of the world, like 99.9% of the rest of the world, I'm guessing it was probably better because they were able to see their favorite YouTubers with devices first, instead of the old newspapers and old magazines and stuff. But I'm still kind of waiting like for one article with a bunch of details, like like stuff that you can only learn when you ask the right questions to the Apple folks, and also stuff that you only learn when you've been experimenting with the device for a long time. And I think that will come probably next week. So
Yeah. So also there was Stephen Levy that had the phone for a week. Matt Panzerino, and who's the third one?
The guy from Axios
That had
with his
the
nephew.
emoji to his kid thing. To his
Yeah,
nephew.
his nephew. Yeah.
So
That's a
Stephen,
weird one.
Yeah, Stephen Levy is part of the original 4 that reviewed the first iPhone. So he was allowed to release, I think, on Sunday night or Monday morning.
Yeah, he had first dibs on the reviews.
So yeah, so he was allowed to post his review first. So that was the first review that came out of the iPhone. And then they started coming out all the other little YouTube reviews. And then on Tuesday morning, all the 24-hour first impressions from all the rest of the reviews. But I think it was on the Monday that everybody was kind of mad that they didn't have their in-depth review. They only had these little new guys, if you want, that were doing the review. So everybody's mad that you couldn't read like the Jason Snell review, the Daring Fireball, John Gruber review, the big Wall Street Journal with Joanna Stern review, all like the bigger, older, white guy publications, if you want.
Yeah. For Joanna Stern, it's sad that she didn't get it earlier, because since she's been working where she is right now, she's been very, very involved in video stuff, and her videos are always like very to the point and very original. Like for the iPhone 10, what she did is she basically got twins, triplets. Like she tried a bunch of things like that. So it was fun to watch. Like it's well produced, and the ideas behind her reviews are genuine and very interesting.
Yes, I think we're seeing like a big shift between the traditional reviewers that we'd had before, and are slowly switching or adding new like YouTube, because YouTube is huge for kids, and they're gonna have to try to go get those kids because they're not reading Daring Fireball. They don't read Point. They don't read blogs. I mean, they watch YouTube videos of everything. So I think it just makes sense to go get that market if you want, or go speak to those people.
Yeah, for the rest of the world, outside our tech bubble, it makes sense, and it's logic that Apple does kind of level by level release. Like, okay, you can go first, then you guys, and then you bunch of guys, and then the general availability or whatever. The NDA is dropped, but for us that are looking for something very specific that we were expecting, and we kept having that exact setup for the last 20 years, we are kind of mad, because that's what we like, that's what we are craving for, and we still haven't gotten it, because except for a few tech journalists, like you said, like Stephen Levy, nobody had it for like a week. Like Matt Panzerino did, so his review was a bit more in depth. But I'm looking for the John Gruber review, like for after a week or two, and usually they have their devices a week or two earlier before the NDA lifts, so they have time to really play with it, to really like incorporate it in their life, to do a bunch of tests. So that's what we were still missing. And I'm not sure we're going to get everything we want this year, because once a reviewer gave his first impression, and of course, he tries to do more than just, here's the 10 features that Apple wants me to report, like the PR statement, basically. They go well beyond that. They try their best. And what else after that is there to add? Is there enough substantial material to make another review? Or it's just like oftentimes you'll see reviewers having like a gadget for like a month, or like they're going to call their article like a 1 month later or 2 months later, and that's the kind of recap of the new thing that they discovered. But then again, if we get this, it's not the real like full-fledged review, so it's going to be kind of a weird scenario this year.
And also, it's very important for smaller independent reviewers or blogs, or like the page use and just the money they get from being first. That's huge for them. So I guess they're kind of mad on that angle also.
So, for example, one of the New York located YouTubers that was invited to this little gathering of independent YouTubers is Sarah Dici on YouTube, and she usually has 58 to 70,000 views per videos. And now her iPhone X first impressions, which is the first one I saw in my feed. So she was clearly one of the first. She has about 288,000 views. So right off the bat, it's about a 5 to 10x what she usually does.
That revenue is huge for people that rely on like basic YouTube videos and ads on their blog, especially for like people that are tech related, Apple related. This is the biggest time of the year by far. This and like WWDC, but the iPhone 10 review is the biggest thing that's going to bring the most views, the most page views, the most downloads, whatever you want to call them. This is the time of the year.
Just remember when the iPhone 4 was lost in a bar, the decision that Gizmodo took to basically run with it and do its review and then its tear down of the phone really what came down to a equation of, are we going to make enough money from this coverage that we're going to get enough money to defend ourselves from the lawyers if we ever get to that point? And they did a calculation, and I'm pretty sure I read somewhere a few months after the release that this was like an all-time high, of course, in terms of revenue for them. But I think that it did more, almost the same amount they do in a year. They did it like in a week.
Right.
So, because they were able to get the phone and prepare everything. So they had all the advertisers lined up. They had like a big story that was coming out, and they were like almost promising the advertisers like, you'll get like 5 or 6 million page views per day or something. And they really like were deep down in that little machine of ad marketing and everything. And when they actually released it, it was crazy like how much coverage they got from everywhere.
I remember that. They had a nice video on their site of all the like news anchors, or I think even Oprah was in the thing, that would say, it was like a jump cut of saying, so on Gizmodo, by all these different peoples on all the news channels, like everybody was talking about this.
Yeah. Another example of the kind of coverage that this can make for small independent YouTubers, the IN Sobriety, whatever, that fashion channel that also got invited with Sarah Dici at the little event. They usually have 2,000 views per video, and their iPhone 10 reviews is now 487,000 views. So right there, it's like a 250x what they usually do in terms of views. So they probably got enough money from that video to cover like their last 20 videos or 50 videos even.
So then now we're starting to see a bit more reviews. I think we had the full Verge review that came out yesterday.
Yep, full Verge video and text review.
So people were saying also, some people are complaining that we need these reviews because we want to know from our trusty reviewers if we need to decide to buy this phone or not. But the people that read those reviews are already buying it. They already know, so it doesn't really make a difference. I think it's a lot more important to go see like the new people on YouTube and all that, like they've done.
Yeah, from a PR perspective, from a media coverage perspective, what Apple did is the right thing. It's going to attract much more eyes to their device, and most importantly, much more eyes that were not sure if it's going to be worth it to get it. But now they know that their trusted YouTube reviewers, friends, or fashion brands, they are behind that product, and that will probably make them tip on the side of buying the device. Whereas before they were just like, let's wait and see. Whereas us, whoever geek is reading Darting Fireball or Six Colors or all of those publications, if they wanted the iPhone 10, they knew it like 3 months ago, and they were ready to buy it. And so it doesn't change anything that we have or not. Our reviews is just us complaining in our little tech bubble.
Exactly.
One fun thing that came out yesterday of all those hands-on devices is our good friends at iFixit. They were able to get their hands on a unit early on, and they were able to tear it down.
Of course.
Of course. But this, I was thinking to myself before seeing that teardown, is the device is like out of this world. It's a new device. It's a new thing. It's Apple pushed the boundaries on that one. So what's inside? What special thing did they do inside? I was almost certain that it was not just a simple like here's a battery, here's a main board, and that's it. A few more sensors even there, and that's no. They had to do something different, and I'm pretty happy because they did. So if you look at the show notes and click the link to iFixit, the teardown goes as it usually does with these guys. They have a video explaining the features of it and the repairability. But where this really shines for me, the mainboard is 70% the size of the iPhone 8 mainboard. So figure out that the iPhone 8 is much larger and the iPhone 10 is much smaller, and the board is 70% of its size. But you're saying, how can it be smaller now that there's more sensors? You need more chips for that, more controllers, more everything. Well, they did something special, and I'm pretty happy about that, is that they made a sandwich PCB. So what is a sandwich PCB? It's when you take a motherboard, like you have in your computer, and instead of laying it out flat, you flip it over and you sandwich it together, like a sandwich. And you have a bunch of things that hold it in place. You got a bunch of sensors and a bunch of wires going from one board to the other through some connectors. Like when you, in the old days, when you were installing like a 46 chip in a computer, the CPU was had those little prongs there. Same thing. So that allows it to be, if you unfold the PCB, you have it on the table, and it's 135% larger than the iPhone 8 PCB. So they were able to get something that's half the size, half bigger, like 1.5 the size of the iPhone 8 into something that's much more small. So that's impressive. The other thing that pops up is the battery. In order to account for that new space that they get from shortening the PCB, they now have a battery that's made out of two modules. So it's an L-shaped battery with two rectangles at 90 degrees on each other. So that allows them to get just slightly more battery capacity than the iPhone 8. Yeah, so that's the rest is pretty normal, I would say. You open it from the side, so just like the iPhone 7 Plus and the iPhone 8 Plus, this seems to be the new design for Apple. So when you unstick the glue and everything, and you remove the screws, when you open it, you have to open it to the side, and then all the connectors are lined up nicely. And once you remove those, you can have access to everything. One thing that I found interesting for repairs is the screen itself. If you break your screen, you are not obligated to change the whole Face ID module, because as you might guess, it's the same thing as a Touch ID module. It's tied to the motherboard. So you cannot get a third party or another phone's Touch ID and install it in your phone. It won't be recognized because Apple put in security to prevent tampering with that. So in the case of the iPhone 10, if you break your screen, the screen part itself comes out without the sensors. So at least it's easier for repairs if you have to go through a third-party shop like that. Yeah, so in the end, pretty nice teardown, as usual, by the iFixit guys.
Okay, next up this week, the Animoji karaoke thing. Everybody's been doing videos of them singing, and I think, what's his name, Dave Wiskus, did a full music video of his band singing.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if it's probably just him, because he probably did like a couple takes of each and every band member's voice. But you have basically like four Animoji singing one of their songs on YouTube. So, but he was not the first. I think it's Harry McCracken who posted the first one, which basically you could hear his lips move like in the video, but also the track. So it wasn't like really highly produced. But then a couple minutes later, when he got traction, he basically did like a Bohemian Rhapsody from Queen, and then in iMovie he basically stitched over the proper song so there's no noise anymore, and it's probably pretty well done now. So yeah, in the show notes there's a link to Twitter with the hashtag Animoji karaoke, and I think that little thing will take on. I was about to buy a domain this morning and just like try to make a site that pulls from Twitter all the Animoji karaoke, but I realized I don't have time this weekend, so. And probably I'll see something on Product Hunt like in an hour or two. Some kid did it like yesterday night and posted it today. So
right, like the AR website.
Yeah, exactly.
What else? I had something to say about Animoji. Yeah, somebody was comparing Animoji to Digital Touch. Do you think it's comparable?
Eh, the first interaction is as nice, but I'm thinking that the Animoji one will be a lasting feature.
It's gonna stick.
It's gonna stick for longer, that's for sure. Is it gonna stick forever as a real mean of communication? I'm not sure. There's only 12 of those, so there's not a lot of choices, and so I'm not sure it's gonna be something that we're gonna use like in 6 months to send ourselves like replies or whatever. But for now, as a new device, as something cool, as something shiny that people can show off, and Apple is also, they knew about that, so they're pretty pleased about all the PR they get from from people sharing those things. So no, it's gonna last longer for sure. Moving on to the other big iPhone, not big iPhone, the big phone released this year, the Google Pixel 2 XL, already has major problems after only a week out. Basically, the OLED screen has a blue tint when you tilt it from the sides. It's not major because most people will not care and probably won't ever see it. It's only tech enthusiasts that will see that. If you remember your iPhone 2G when you got it, it has the exact same tint. When you tilt it from side to side, you can see that the screen gets very bluish. Well, that's the same thing that happens with the Pixel XL2. But the worst thing, the one that really is quite a bummer, is the screen burn-in. After only 1 week of use, people are starting to see that the back and home button on the bottom tab bar is basically already burned into the display. So that's only after 1 week. People are complaining because they're saying that this device is using OLED panels, and usually what people do for that is the manufacturer introduce some mechanics to prevent burning, and they're saying that Google probably didn't even consider that. So if you compare, the other big OLED provider maker is Samsung, and their phones don't have that. And people are started to look into exactly why, and they discovered that Samsung basically shifts the pixel slightly to the sides, to the top, to the bottom, like every, well, I don't know what's the delay, but like let's say every 5 minutes or whatever. So whenever something's on the screen for more than a few seconds, the pixels are shifting slightly so that you don't ever have the exact same pixels lit up. So they cannot burn in like that. You can kind of like distribute the burn-in across many pixels. So probably in the end, like let's say in 2 years, you'll probably get some A's burn-in, but not a like triangle that is well defined like we have right now with the Google Pixels. And then after that, we learned that a bunch of phones were shipped to their happy customers. And guess what? They
not
opened
so
the box. Yeah, well, they were happy until they unboxed it.
Right.
And then what did they discover is that the phone has no operating systems. So some major up in the assembly chain there. So I don't remember seeing something like that for other manufacturers. So it's probably because Google maybe did a new assembly line, or they added new partners or whatever. Maybe the OS is not installed in the same place as the phone are built or whatever. So, but still, it's two bad things in a single week for Google, and that's not very nice.
It's without an operating system and something else, no?
Well, when you boot it, it says operating system missing. Please install operating system. Go to Google/ACB, I think. It's the Android. I think it's a developer tool that you can push over USB like an operating system or some kind of a refresh. So,
that's great.
Yeah, for non-tech person, that's very great.
Well, yeah, what do you think is the gate this year? We didn't see anything yet, no?
What for now, for the iPhone, I don't see anything yet.
Like
Face
Ben
ID
Gate,
works. Yeah.
His gate last year, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, I've seen drop test yesterday, and the guy dropped it from his head height onto concrete floor, and that's only, and the phone survived. So where the iPhone 8 basically was exploded. So that tells me that at least in drop test, it's strong enough. I'm pretty sure that when you try to flex it like a bend test, it should also does not bend easily. Maybe they're the antenna gate again. I don't know if the reception is bad. I don't think so. It's all glass, so it should work even better. The only thing that can be probably susceptible would probably be the battery, because it's like a new L shape, and maybe this adds complexity to the battery controller to charge 2 units instead of only one, and maybe we're going to see some battery problems, or maybe the screen, if the OLED screen has some kind of problem. Because Face ID is pretty much great right now. I know Neil Patel has problems with it because they say in the documentation that it has to be about 20 to 25 inches of your face. And he took out a measuring tape, and basically he's at about 28 or 29 inch because he's quite tall, and it doesn't always register. But he's the only one I've seen with that kind of problem. Probably because all the other ones who already posted in-depth reviews are older, and they keep the phone closer to their face to see what's written on it. So I don't think it's going to be much of an issue. I'm curious to see other tests with glasses and stuff like that. So, but I don't think there's going to be a gate this year.
People had not complaints, but that doesn't work laying down in bed. It doesn't work if you're not vertical.
If you're laying down on bed and you move your chin close to your chest, then you change the shape of your face. So maybe that's why.
How you? Oh yeah, but no, it doesn't work if the phone is in landscape.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Well, I think that's why they put a little lock icon there. So they are hoping that you look at the lock to see if it works, and that's just above it is where the sensor is. So it's going to be the optimum viewing angle. As a Generation 1 product, I don't think it's going to have major issues. There might be some edge cases, like you just mentioned, that will be a bit harder for the sensors to comprehend. But it's going to be like Touch ID. Like Touch ID 2 was so much faster, so much more reliable for most of us, that I'm just hoping that next year we'll see Face ID 2, which will be even better. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to be one of those years with many, many gates. But then again, it can always surface one morning when you wake up. I don't think those phones are making noises like the hiss gate or stuff like that. So I think we're safe.
And also, you can't really test Face ID in store. It really sucks.
Yeah, you went yesterday, right?
Right, yeah. So I had a couple of things I wanted to see, like Face ID and all that. They have this Face ID app. So you set up your face, you do the circle thing twice, and then it just, you have this third screen or fourth screen, whatever, in the app, and you have to stay in that app and say start, and then you have to put your face, and then a little logo spins and it says unlock. But that's it. But you can't do the full unlock process of the phone, which is kind of normal because they don't want you to start putting a bunch of faces on the phone, and then you can't unlock it. Or what do you do? You do delay 10 seconds and then the Face ID is erased. I don't know.
Yeah, I would hope that they have, maybe if you get an appointment for the watch, and you would be able, I'm hoping, I don't know if it's the case, but I was thinking about that last week, is you get an appointment and then you go meet the Genius and the Grove with the plants, and then you're able to set up the phone as you normally would, use Face ID properly, and they would just plug the phone into some device and have a reset sequence that it resets the Face ID data or something.
Right.
But that's not the case, I'm guessing. At least not for the devices that are on the big tables.
Because I wanted to test with my sunglasses, but it's not really relevant if you... Well, I might go back today and I can try. Maybe put my glasses in the store.
Okay. So Apple is also going back to its roots. I did this complaint a few months ago on Ipser Pixel, basically writing a post about that Apple is not going over the features like they were doing in the first days of the iPhone 2G. Understandably, they don't do it as much because people are now used to their phones. But the changes that were implemented in iOS 7, 8, and 9, and 10, and now 11, there's so many swipe gestures or force touch or force pull or whatever that are not intuitive and that are not discoverable, that I would always see there is an actual benefit of some kind of guided tour going around the features. Like, you were used to do this, now you do it like that, or just a simple video. It doesn't need to be long, just a few minutes, and going over everything would be sufficient, like for each new iOS version. And that's exactly what they did for the iPhone 10. So I'm pretty happy. They finally listened to me. So we have 4 minutes and 22 seconds of a friendly genius explaining us exactly how to go back to the home screen, how to swipe between apps, how to go to the app switcher, and everything like super nice, super clear with examples and everything. So yeah, props to Apple for this video. It's very nice. And the actress that they use, I don't know if it's a real genius or just an actress. She's very natural. This seems very effortless for her. And she also adds a little tint of humor. So that's great. I had a question for you after that.
Yes.
Face ID. We like it. We seem to embrace it for the future. Where do you see Face ID will go after the iPhone 10?
Like on what device?
Yep.
It'd be really stupid not to put it on a Mac, like laptops and iMac. Just get up, and then we hit the space bar, or I just hit a key, and it unlocks up my watch, but now it can unlock with my face, because not everybody has a watch. iPad, everything. iPad has a huge bezel already. There's plenty of room to fit the, how's it called? The module? The face recognition thing?
Well, there's a bunch of things. There's the IR blaster that illuminates your face.
Yeah, but the whole thing is called something, no?
Oh yeah, probably. I don't have the exact name here. Yeah, a laptop makes sense. I'm thinking we are now in early November, so the good candidate for that would be the iMac Pro, coming out sometime this year, hopefully in the next month and a half. It would be just perfect to see Apple come out with a black iMac Pro and that Face ID tech inside it. It's a lot of space. It's always on your desk, always the same angle. You cannot like move around too much, so the angle of effectiveness, if you want, would be quite great for that device. So I would see a lot less edge cases and more power also. If ever there's a power constraint right now and they cannot, for example, process 50 million dots instead of 30,000 or something. I don't know how many dots they put, but yeah, iMac Pro I think for me would be the next device. And then we would have new iPads in the spring, so I would be thinking only the Pro ones, so iPad Pros would get that feature. Just because, at least for the Face ID 1, probably once we get Face ID 2, it's going to trickle down to all the devices. But I think that for Face ID 1, it's going to be only iPad Pros, iMac Pro, and if we're lucky, next June, MacBook Pros with the Face ID tech.
What's the limitation for the only one face, you think? Could that be overcome for the iMac? So you'd have like the whole family could have their face in the computer, and as soon as you sit in front, it logs into your session?
Yes, once it get down to the consumer products. But as long as it's in the Pro products, I don't think they're going to support family. Usually Pro products are much more expensive, and they are used by a single individual. So I don't see this for the iMac Pro. I also don't see it for the iPad Pro. But as much as we're getting into the MacBook Pro territory, which is, of course, a Pro machine, but it's because of size constraints, it's mostly the one that people are buying because they want 15-inch displays. And that is a Pro device, but not necessarily aimed towards only Pros. I think that would be the first one to probably introduce with WWDC next June, set of, let's say, 4 or 5. I would say 5 would be a good number. Not because we're 5 at my household, but
completely biased.
Yeah, completely biased. But
no, it's
5,
five,
I think
it's 5 fingers right now in Touch ID.
Yeah, which makes sense. It makes sense. It's an arbitrary number. I don't think that there's a reason behind that. Like, we have 10 fingers, so why not 10? But I think they had to put a number, and I think they figured that 5 fingers would be enough. So 5 faces would be also great. Of course, families with 4 or 5 children will not really like this, but it's not the worst. I think it's a small enough percentage that it's not going to factor in too much in their decision. And do you think that we'll ever see a new iPod Touch with Face ID?
No.
What's up with that device? Will it disappear?
I think it's done. You think it's done?
Yeah, I don't know if it's done.
When's the last time it was updated? 2-3 years ago?
It's the equivalent of an
iPhone
5, yes. So
Like
1,
5S
2,
with the
3.
guts of a 6 or something like
Yeah.
that. It's like
Yeah,
the
no,
SC.
not even. Yeah, probably like the not even the SC, because the SC was the equivalent of a 6,
No,
and this
6S.
is 6S. So the iPod Touch is 5 or 5S, but not more than that. Probably more 5 than 5S. So yeah, it's dated, and like my daughter has one. And it's very slow compared to iPhones today. So, but also it's so perfect. Well, no, I don't say that. It's too small, so it would benefit from a screen increase to reach probably like an iPhone 7 size type of device, or maybe just below it, but not above an iPhone 7 or 8 size. That would be major for it, because even my daughter, she's cranking up the accessibility settings to for the font size, because it's way too small. So yeah, no, I hope there's still like a place in Apple's heart for that device, because it makes sense for kids. It's perfect. Like I wouldn't buy my kid an iPad. Like it's way too big. It's not easy to carry as much as an iPod Touch that you can slip in your pocket. So yeah, iPod Touch. The update is due, man. We should have one.
But you always see kids walking around with iPads now. No? Now?
I do, but I always laugh at them. So it's way too big. Like you see a small tiny kid with a huge like a 10-inch iPad. That makes no sense. Like it's not a kid device. I'm sorry, but unless your parents are filthy rich and you can throw iPads in the air like you're throwing like a
How much is the iPad? Like the normal iPad?
$379, I think.
It's not too bad. How much is the iPod Touch?
It $249.
And the iPad is a way better device, especially if you like to watch videos and play games. I think it's done.
Nope, iPad is $449.
The cheap one?
The cheap one, yeah.
No, it's three. Oh, you're looking in Canadian?
Oh yeah.
Because it's $329 in US. And then I don't even know how you get the iPod Touch.
You go from the music menu.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, $249 Canadian, so probably $199 US for 32 gigs.
And then the cheapest iPod Touch is $199.
Yeah, so $199 and $399, so it's a big gap.
$329.
Yeah, so it's a big gap. So I would see probably something in between, like maybe a $199 base iPod Touch, because that's the sweet spot. Like research proved that whenever a technological product goes to $199 in the US, that's when it gets major traction. It was why Nintendo released the Nintendo for $199 in the 80s, and that number, even though the value of the money changes over time, it's still the reference price of mass market adoption for a gadget or technological product, consumer product. So I think they should keep it at $199, but they should really replace the internals with something much better, and if possible increase the screen size, because that thing is way too small. 4-inch retina, man, that's small.
So anything else? I can talk about my pilgrimage.
Yeah, go ahead. Indulge us in your pilgrimage activities.
Okay, so I had to go to the mall, and the mall that we have closest has the Apple Store in it. So,
What a coincidence.
yeah. So we had stuff to return. My wife bought stuff online this week, whatever. She had to return them. So I said, oh, sure, we'll go tonight. And then while she returned all her stuff or exchanged the sizes or whatever, I just stayed in the Apple Store for half an hour-ish, playing with the iPhone 10. It's heavy. And if you want to save $1,000, don't go to the store. Just stay home. You don't touch it and stay home. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Because you bought one on your phone afterwards?
No, I can't. Yeah, so it's very dense. It's like the first impression I got when taking it off the little charger. It feels like it's full of concrete or something. It feels so heavy and so like hard. It's weird. The screen is amazing. The going to the home screen, like the new swipe gesture, swipe up. It didn't take me 5 minutes, and I was already used to it. I take my phone out to take pictures, and I kept swiping up from the Touch ID button. It didn't work.
Nice.
It felt like my phone had like this, what is it called, letterbox, because it had the two big black bezels on top,
Yeah.
and it felt
Pillar
so
bugs.
black. It was weird. I was like, what's this big black thing on top and the bottom? Because it like the whole screen is so, it gets so like, it feels like you're just holding a screen. It's weird. I was leaning towards the silver when I was looking at the pictures, but it's not silver, it's like gray. And then the black, it's not black, it's like dark gray. Both colors are not very appealing if you ask me. The bezels, the silver has a stainless steel, and the other one is like black stainless steel. I like the silver because it's like a throwback to the iPhone 2G, but I don't really like the silver because it's like shiny. It's Nilay Patel says it's already all scratched up, but I hate the black, so I really don't know what I'm gonna do. If I'd have to pick, I think I'd go silver, but then again, I don't know. What else? Face ID, like I said before, you can't really test it except for the little app they have in the store. It works. You can kind of play with the angle, but it's not perfect. Like if the phone is too like horizontal, it doesn't work. It doesn't detect your face. You really have to have it like really square with your face if you want. As soon as you're a little angle, the animation spins and then it doesn't unlock. It gives you the like when your thumb doesn't work and you get the vibration in your hand there. What else? Animoji. Animoji is really cool. It's almost scary that the thing responds so quickly and exactly like the eye gestures or just like closing your eyes or opening your eyes wide. It's exactly the same, and it like turning your head, moving your mouth. It's scary.
If you want to have fun, the Measure Kit app was updated with the sensor grid, so you can basically look at your phone, your iPhone 10, using Measure Kit, and you'll see the dot patterns on the screen. So, and you can move your mouth and see the mesh. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's another thing. There's no third-party apps installed, none at all. It's all basic Apples. That I want to see an app without the optimizer or updated for iPhone 10.
Yeah, but that's probably why they didn't do it.
Right.
They don't want to showcase bad-looking apps.
Yeah, I understand, but I want to see it anyways. Yeah, and there was no apps, no third-party apps, so it was just the basic Apple apps. When you take an app with the black screen, like the alarm clock, like you lose the whole bezel. It's like really black. OLED is cool. We need OLED on our phones.
Yeah, that's a given.
There's quite a bit of like blue hue when you look at it at an angle. I was surprised. People were saying it's not that bad. I'd like to see a phone where it's really bad because it's like if it's the blue like color on top, it's weird.
About the thickness, you mentioned it was quite more thick or more heavy than you thought.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's probably because the PCB is now sandwiched, and that's one of the heaviest part in the phone itself. Also stainless steel. It's steel. It's not aluminum, so it's heavier, and glass also, yeah. And also, if you look at the iFixit teardown, you can see it right next to an iPhone 2G. And I was very surprised to see how thick the iPhone 10 is compared to the old iPhone 2G. Not as thick, of course, but still substantially thicker than I was imagining. Because you always see it from the front, and when you see it from an angle, it's always from the corner, so you don't have the height, the thickness very apparent. But yeah, it seems to be quite a big phone.
The camera bump is really big too, like comically big, but I guess it's there for a reason, and at least embrace it now instead of hiding it in the pictures like they did in the iPhone 6. But it has like this little metal band around it, so it makes it like not sharp but almost sharp. I found that weird a bit, and I don't find it attractive with the cameras like vertically aligned instead of being like horizontal like they have it on the 8 Plus and 7 Plus. Swiping from the bottom, it's kind of hard to reach a bit at the beginning. I don't know. And you had to keep your hand really low in the phone, and then if you want to go do anything up high, you have to move. So it's kind of like the plus for that reason. You're gonna have to use it with two hands, but that's just something that's normal, I guess. Control center is really far. I use it a lot. I don't know about you, but to go get it like in the Batman ear on the top right, it's really far.
Yeah, that's one thing that I was afraid, because at first I told myself, okay, it won't be too hard to learn to swipe up to go home, because I do it constantly with the control center. I do it to play pause music. I do
Me
it
too.
for the flashlight, the calculator, the camera. I never learned to swipe right to get to the camera. Also, most of the time when I take pictures, I want to go back to see my pictures, and it always bugs me to only see like the one I just took, because I haven't unlocked my phone yet. So by reflex, I always unlock the phone while taking it out of my pocket with my thumb, and when I get it to my face, it's already unlocked. So I just swipe control center, get the camera. But now if it's at the top, I will need to keep doing the same hand placement to swipe up to unlock once I get the phone in my face. But then I will have to move my phone across this big pillar to get to the top, and then hit with my thumb the top right corner. And I mostly use my phone with my left hand when I unlock it, because it's in my left pocket. So I have to reach the top right corner, which is even worse. So for me, it will definitely be a two-hand phone for sure. So the dream of having like a iPhone 7 size device with the screen of an iPhone Plus, that dream completely died, man.
Well, it's true, but you have to use it like you're using a Plus.
Yeah,
but it's smaller.
I was seriously hoping to go back to one-handed use.
Well, you can't. The screen size is bigger.
Yeah, I know, but it's not too large. It's just it's way much longer, and especially
Right.
if you go swipe up to unlock, and then you have to go to the opposite corner of the screen to get to control center, and that's a pain.
There's a Force Touch camera and flashlight on the lock screen, so that covers both those things.
Okay. Yeah.
I'd like to
okay.
change those. I'd take off the camera because you can still swipe left or swipe right, whatever. Yeah, swipe right to get the camera. So
Yeah.
I like if you could replace that camera with music controls. Well, no, music controls are going to be on the lock screen anyways. Like something else, like I don't know.
Calculator.
No.
No.
No. Like Apple TV remote, maybe.
Yeah, I'm guessing this will probably appear, or maybe those icons are contextual. So if you have an Apple TV that's already on and playing something, maybe the icon will change.
Right now they aren't, but maybe in the future.
Yeah.
Swipe. You can swipe. If you put in landscape, you can swipe up from like the side if you want, from the bottom, but you can still swipe up from the side. You can swipe up from both sides to go back to the home screen. That was weird.
That was weird.
You know, because usually you go like to the home button, but now you can swipe up from the bottom. It feels weird.
Yeah, that's something I'll need to experiment with, and it could also change in the future. We never know.
It's on both sides, so the bottom and the side. When you're in landscape, the notch looks really weird when you're watching videos. So I'd put it back to the letterbox or square, whatever.
Letter and pillar box.
Right, pillar. Which one is pillar? The sides or the top?
Pillar the sides and letter the tops.
Okay.
Letter is like a widescreen videos and a 4x3 TV, like an old TV. That's letterboxed. And pillar box, it's on the sides, like a pillars. Yeah, about that. That's one thing that bugs me a lot, because one of my main use of my phone is to watch TV series and movies in the commute. And that's one of the reasons, if not the main reason, why I wanted to get a Plus phone. But now, if I have to get that damn notch in my video, and I have to go back to like letterbox and pillar box, then is the video as big as an iPhone 7, or is it even smaller? Because that's like lose all the advantage of a big screen if you have to do that.
Yeah. You forget the notch and all the rest, though. It's just not there. It disappears.
It's only for games and movies, which will be a problem. For the rest, it's just part of the UI, so it's it's not worse than having like a tab bar at the bottom for Android phones where you have a back button that's constantly there and the home button. So you get used to it. So that's not a problem for me. It's mostly, in video mode, like I'm afraid that the size change would be a problem.
Using the keyboard is weird because it has this empty bottom row. It's exactly the same height because I put my phone next to it. The keyboard is at the same height as if the phone had a bottom bezel, but it's a bit off. It's a bit too high, and you feel like you're gonna miss it all the time.
Oh yeah, because I read about that, saying that if it was to be at the bottom, you would lose your balance, and you could drop the phone. So by raising it a bit like that, it makes it so that you're still holding the phone from the middle, with your fingers in the back. So it would be more comfortable to hold. But you're saying that it's hard to naturally get your hands on the right place, or
I don't know. Because there's no bezel, I have the reflex to wanting to go lower all the time. But
Okay.
it's exactly at the right place. It just feels weird.
Okay. Well, that you get used to in about a week or two, I guess.
A couple days.
At most, yeah.
It also has the glass back, like the 8, and I was complaining about where the glass meets the stainless steel on the side. It feels kind of rough. Well, it's the same thing on the iPhone 10, but I guess that's just something that you have to live with because you don't have the all-in-one body like we have right now on the 7.
All right, that's it for episode 69. You can find show notes at rgba.fm/69. You can find us on Twitter. I'm Valia, VALLIERES.
And I'm Tyler Menard, TYLERMENARD.
Have a nice week.
Have a nice week.